Hello, everyone. Rodrigo Silva here, and thank you for joining me in this paradigm shift masterclass. And today I'll be teaching you life-changing principles that you can apply today to turn anxiety, fears, and feelings of disappointment about life into empowering thoughts and practical action steps to start creating and living a meaningful life full of purpose. And before we begin, please make sure that you've already downloaded the workbook that you received on your email. If you didn't get the email, just click on the button below that says download workbook because you're going to need that. All right. If you are ready, let's jump right into this. This is what I'll be covering today in the Paradigm Shift Masterclass. I'm going to teach you how to find your true purpose, the principle of ownership, exposing limiting beliefs, and the alchemy of goal setting. So let's start with finding your true purpose. And I want to ask you something. Do you ever feel like there's something missing in your life, or that something's just not quite right? Or you might be telling yourself from time to time, there must be more to life than this. You know, just from what you're doing, from just paying the bills, from not having exactly what you want. And perhaps you want to make an impact in the world. And this could be not, like the whole world, but the world around you, like your family and friends, the close people to you or your community. But you just don't know how you can do this or where to start. And if that's the case, if you can relate to any of these statements or questions, I want to tell you something. I have good news for you. You are not alone. The truth is, you are not alone, and most people come to this point in their lives eventually, right? So a lot of people just go through life and get frustrated or desperate because they are looking for a deeper sense of purpose and meaning, but they don't know how to get there or what is it that is missing. And some say the two most important days we have in our lives are the day that we are born and the day that we discover why we were born. And even though this might sound a little bit like too spiritual or cliche, it is true. And another truth here is, and the fact is, that a lot of people just settle for their lives instead of trying to find that purpose and pursue their passions. They just settle for what they have and think that's okay. But I want to encourage you today not to settle, at least not after you've watched this full masterclass, because I'm pretty confident that this is going to be an eye-opener for you. So having a greater vision for yourself can clear the purpose, and a clear purpose can help you live a meaningful life. Because if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have a greater vision and something you are aiming towards that you want to achieve in life, then you're just going pretty much nowhere and just getting dragged by life to whatever you might end in a different place from where you want, right? And so I have a quote here from Albert Einstein and his definition of insanity. He said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity for Albert Einstein. And even though you might be thinking sometimes that you are making changes, that you're doing something different, I want to ask you, are you? Are you really making something different? Because if that's the case, you're going to find this feeling of self-fulfillment and of progress. But if you feel like you might be stuck, even though you change some things, or at least you think, then what I have to tell you is that first, what you need to do to actually get unstuck from this place that you might be at right now is escape. You need to escape from the limiting belief prison. At least that's how I call it. And this is nothing but your mind and those limiting beliefs that we have that prevent us from getting to where we want in life and achieving the things that we want. So I want you to allow your imagination to take over the wheel, because this is one of the biggest fights that we have in our mind, right? Our imagination and the wheel. And the way I like to explain this is, we all know, and sometimes we say, like things like, how can I improve my willpower? How can I have a stronger will? And the truth is, you don't need will unless you're trying to force yourself to do things you don't want to. And the clear example here is if let's say you hate your job, right? You're stuck in a dead-end job and you just hate it, but you have to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to work. Well, of course you're going to hate, and you're going to need a lot of willpower to get up at 5 a.m. every single day to get to that job that you hate, right? But if I were to tell you that you're going on a vacation tomorrow to this place that you've always been dreaming of, and it's like your dream vacation, but you have to wake up at 3 a.m. to catch the flight, would you be mad or pissed, or you would be like, oh, I have to wake up to go on this dream vacation that I've been always wanted to go? Of course not. Of course not. You would be happy and excited. And I'll tell you what, I bet you wouldn't be able to sleep the night before. You just wouldn't be able to shut your eyes for a second because you would be so excited. And that's what I want to teach you, to live your life like that every single day. And that's the massive importance of finding your true purpose and that passion, and following and living that passionate life. But first, you need to find out what inspires you and motivates you, and what is it that you love and makes you happy, because that's where we're going to start this journey. Because if you don't know what is it, and if you don't know yourself, it's going to be bloody hard. And I have a quote here from Buddha, and it says, your purpose in life is to find your purpose and give your whole heart and soul to it. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, I'm passionate about this or that, but I'm not going to be able to make a living from this. And let me tell you, that is a perfect example of a limiting belief. Why? Because I bet, and you can do some research, and there's someone out there, a group of people, maybe hundreds, even thousands around the world, who are doing exactly that you say that you can't, and they are doing it and living a great life. But you choose to believe that you just can't, right? And you choose to look at the people who have failed doing that instead of looking at the people who have succeeded doing it. And I want you to take in consideration time, because time is the most valuable commodity that we each possess. And once it's gone, once you spend this time, it's gone forever. And you can spend your time making money, but you can't spend the money trying to make more time. And that's kind of something that happened to me when I started this journey. And even, when going back to when I started college, doing something that I didn't want to, but I just wanted to, please my parents. So I went to engineering school, and from there I dropped out in the last semester, and it's a whole story from there. But when I thought I was pursuing my passion was like culinary arts school, then I got a job at this motorcycle shop as a manager, and I started to make good money. So I changed my focus on what I was doing at school. I missed class all the time, so I wasn't able to graduate because of my low percentage of attendance at school. But I was like, well, that doesn't matter. I don't need that, because now I'm making money. And after a couple of years, I was just thinking, well, you know what? I just don't love doing this. I'm making money, but there's no purpose. There's no meaning. There's no fulfillment from this. So I went back on my journey, but from there, I lost 2-3 years of my life because I got distracted by making money, rather than pursuing my true passion in life. And the truth is, to find your true passion and your true purpose in life, first you need to become familiar with yourself. Like Socrates used to say, know thyself. And that is something that's actually part of my 6-week program. That's the whole first week of training, or the first session, is about how you can get to know thyself and just know yourself to a deeper level. Because you see, I've asked a lot of people, friends, clients, who are you? And they just tell me what's their name, what's their age, where they were born, what they do for a living, what are the things they like, they dislike, stuff like that. But to be honest, and the truth is, that's not who you are. Those are the things you like. That's your age, your name, where you were born, what you do for a living, what's your job, but that's not who you are. It makes part of your identity at some level, but that doesn't define who are you, right? So a lot of people don't understand that. And once you get to understand this to that deeper level, everything changes right before your eyes. And I have a quote here from Emerson that says, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." And one of the reasons we struggle so much to find ourselves and our true identity and be authentic is because we are always comparing ourselves to others, to our neighbors, to other family members, to our friends, to, celebrities, famous people, and nowadays more than any social media. Right? Who want to compare to all these people out there who are or seem to have this perfect life. But of course, they don't show everything. And that's what happens, when you see the news, when a celebrity, something happened to them, they got arrested for, driving drunk, or they were, involved in some family violence, stuff like that. And you don't get to see all those things on a daily basis, but you just see what these people choose for you to see. So they control what you see, and then you think that's, the ideal life, but you don't really know what's going on. So once you understand that and you stop trying to imitate or compare yourself to other people and take a look to yourself and find really who you are, what your purpose is, then everything is going to change. Because once you start being authentic, also you're going to attract the right people into your life. If you try to imitate someone else, well, you're going to attract that kind of people. But if that really is not aligned to who you are, there's always going to be friction, and you're just going to feel like something's missing and something's not right, and even get into trouble. So let's jump into the part of the workbook. I'm not going to go through all these questions with you right now because that's why you have the workbook. The only thing I'm going to do is read the instructions, because I need to stress out some parts of these instructions to make sure that you follow the exercise to the T to get the best results. So first, you need a few sheets of paper, or you can use your computer or your cell phone, doesn't matter, but you need to write this down. It's of great importance that you write your answers down, and find a place when you're doing this, find a place where you won't be interrupted, where you won't be disturbed. Turn off your phone. This exercise might take you 15 minutes if you follow the instructions. And I want you to write down the first things that pops into your head. No second guessing, no editing, none of that. And like I said, it's massively important that you write down your answers rather than just thinking about them. If you think about them, nothing's going to change. You need to write this down. Like I said, you could do it on paper, you could do it on your computer, your phone, but you need to write or type this down. Please, it's massively important. If you don't do that, this exercise won't help you at all. And last but not least, you need to give yourself less than 60 seconds per question. And if you can, less than 30 seconds. Just write without editing, without a second thought. And be honest. Please be honest, because nobody else needs to read this and read your answers. So the more honest you are with yourself, the better the answers you're going to get. And the clearer is going to be your vision after this exercise, and everything is going to start to make sense. So be honest and write the answers down. So it's 15 questions. You can pause these and answer the questions, complete this exercise, or you can do it at the end of the masterclass. I would suggest you to pause the video and answer the questions. It's only 15 questions. It should take you like 15 minutes. And from there, once you've done that, I have a last question for you. But first, I want to show you this quote from Steve Maraboli that says, "I want to live my life in such a way that when I get out of bed in the morning, the devil says, 'Oh, bloody hell, he's up.'" And that's exactly what I was telling you with the example of the dream vacation, right? That's how you want to live your life. And it is possible. So first, you need to allow yourself and break free from this limiting belief prison and allow yourself to believe that it is possible, because guess what? Everything is possible. And I want you to get that in your head. Everything is possible, right? Maybe, but here's the catch. Everything is possible, but not at the same time. So we need to work on that as well. And that's what the part of goal setting, the alchemy of goal setting, comes into play. So we have a better understanding of this. But the root of this premise and this principle is that everything is possible. So I want you to start thinking that your dream life is possible to achieve, right? You just need to take the right steps towards it to make it happen. So once you've completed the 15 questions, once you've answered that, I have a last question for you, and this you need to write your answer down as well. What's the first few steps that you can take today towards pursuing your passions and in living a life that would feel more meaningful, purpose-driven, and fulfilling? I want you to think of some, little step, some things that are aligned with what your answers were for those 15 questions, on some action steps, some things that you can actually start doing. Okay, taking action. That's the most important thing. And that's why a lot of people fail, and they can read all the books, attend to all these conferences and seminars and whatever, buy online courses. And that's why most people fail, because they don't take action. So I want you, once you've answered this and you have a clear vision of your purpose, write down a few action steps, maybe 2, maybe 3 things. If you get 5, that's fantastic. But write them down, and that things that you can do today or start doing tomorrow to get closer to this greater vision and living this life full of purpose and meaning to you. All right, so let's go ahead, do that. Take your time for this question, maybe 2-3 minutes at the most. And once you're ready, let's keep going to the next section of this masterclass. All right, so now let's move on to the principle of ownership. And this is something really important, that if you embrace it and start applying it today, your life is going to literally change before your eyes. So let's talk about this. The principle of ownership says we have the capability to take control of our lives. And the nature of our existence dictates that we must act or be acted upon. So for that, it means that we have the option of taking action. And if we don't take action, life is going to take action upon us one way or another. And then we have to react to that action. And when maintaining ownership of our lives becomes a principle, the world starts to change. Like I said, it's just going to shift right before your eyes. And there's 2 parts to this principle: the reactivity and the proactivity. So if you're being reactive, this is when an outside force causes you to act, right? Like I said, you can act on your life or just be acted upon. When you are being acted upon, you have to react to this, that it's, let's say, pushing you, right? On the other hand, the proactivity is just the opposite. The cause for action comes from within. So you're not waiting for something to happen for you to take action, right? So that you have to react to that. And I have a clear example. Maybe this is kind of odd. So that's why I have this example that hopefully will help clear out the concept right here of this principle. On the left, we have an image of a house that's burning down. And that is the reactivity part of the principle. Why? Because maybe the people who were living here didn't take the time or the responsibility to set up like an alarm system, like a smoke alarm system or extinguishers or anything to protect their house. So they were just hoping that in case there was a fire, that the fire department will get there and they would get noticed by maybe the neighbors or whoever, and make sure that they were notified at some point, and then they will come to the house and put the fire out. But as you can see, that didn't happen the way they were hoping, because they were just reacting to this situation. And on the other hand, we have on the right side the proactivity example. Somebody was just prepared and got the smoke alarm system everywhere in the house, and they were just prepared for it. So in the case that there was a fire, the alarms were going to go off immediately, notifying the fire department, and they would just be on the way. And that way, they would have a way better chance of saving their house, right? So they were not just reacting to the fire. They had already set up a system in place, to prevent the having to react to this situation. So you can see a clear difference here of how the reactivity and proactivity principle acts. And this acts upon us every single day. And you start thinking about it and you're like, well, most of the times, we live our lives reacting to different circumstances. And that's why we complain and we start pointing fingers to people, to the government, to God, or whoever it is except us, right? Because we're just reacting to something else. But what if we had a system in place first in ourselves and we took responsibility for everything that happened in our lives? Would it be different? Well, let me tell you something. Yeah, it would. And it is completely different for the people who take responsibility for whatever happens in their lives, rather than just pointing fingers to justify themselves. Because I'll tell you something, that doesn't work. And you might be thinking, and I've heard like everything, well, how can I not react or just prevent like having a car accident? Well, maybe, once again, but here's the thing, maybe you couldn't avoid that, like a drunk driver, just passing a red light and hitting your car, right? Yeah, perhaps you could not prevent that. But what do you think that's going to give you more empowerment with your life? You're just playing the victim and be like, well, because of that person, this and that happened, then what? I mean, that's it. That's all you can do. But if you choose and decide to take responsibility for what happened, maybe, and this might not make sense to you, but you could have said, well, maybe I could be paying more attention to the road, or just don't drive that late at night, because I know, or drive through this kind of area because I know there's bars and whatnot. And maybe it's just to convince yourself, not that it's your fault, but that you could have done something different. And now you still have the power to make a decision towards what happens next, instead of just being a victim. Because here's the thing, being a victim and pointing fingers to someone else takes away all the power. And that's what I meant on the first slide right here, that you must act or be acted upon. So that's exactly what happens with these kind of examples. And the same thing happens to our life when we talk about applying these principles to limiting beliefs and all that. You can just keep those beliefs and don't do anything to pursue your passions and your finding your true purpose in life. But then you're going to keep reacting to what life throws at you, instead of taking, like the offense and just going out there in pursuit of what you want for your life, right? That's the big difference here on proactivity and reactivity. A proactive person will go out there and pursue what they want, instead of just settling for what life throws at them and just reacting to it. And that's how you just get by through life. And that's why a lot of people just have that phase of regret when they are older. So that's basically the principle of ownership. You have to take ownership and responsibility for your life, and just know and embrace that the life you've chosen, and however you're living right now, and the current situation you are at right now, is on nobody but yourself. And that's great. You know why? Because now it means that you are the only one who can take action and actually change that situation and go to where you are, that current situation, to where you want to be and living the life that you want to. See, that's the power of this principle. Once you realize that it's on you to make this change, then you realize that you are the only one who can make this change. So it makes it possible. You start realizing that you have the capability to make a change, because it's a no one but you. And that's the power of this. I hope that you can see that. And if not, I'm going to give you these 5 questions to reflect upon about the ownership principle. Same thing. You have them in your workbook. Make sure you write them down. There's just 5 questions. Shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes. They're really simple. Be honest. Please, guys, be honest, because this is what's gonna bring massive change. Like I said, if you just start doing this and having this perspective about life and start just taking action and action steps today or tomorrow, you'll see a big change in just a matter of a few days. Trust me on this one. All right, it's time to get into the nitty-gritty in this
masterclass, this section is what is going to really unlock that power and abundance within your mind, exposing the limiting beliefs. And I know that I might have lost a few of you with that last section by telling you you are the only one who's responsible for the life you've got. But the truth is, if you can't understand this and you can't accept this, anything else that I teach you is going to be useless. So if you're still with me, first of all, I want to congratulate you for taking that step and being open-minded for that, because that's what's going to bring the change. So let's jump into this section of the masterclass, the limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are nothing but negative self-talk that we gave ourselves, right? That negativity and those insecurities about ourselves, those are basically the limiting beliefs. They are deep-rooted beliefs or assumptions that we hold about ourselves, maybe other people, and in life in general. We're going to be having some examples about this, but just know that these are just beliefs, and that's where the insecurity that we have stems from. And of course, most of the times, or all of the times, it's negative. That's why it's limiting to yourself. And in most cases, these beliefs are incorrect and completely unhelpful. That's for sure. You'll see why. So I have some examples here for limiting beliefs. And you might have told this to yourself at some point, or just thought about it kind of low key, but you know it's there. Or once you start digging up these limiting beliefs, and like kind of cleaning up your skeletons out of the closet, you might be like, oh, well, I didn't know that. I never noticed until now. Well, here are some examples of things that you might be saying to yourself even on a daily basis. Like, life is a constant struggle. Well, if you believe life is a constant struggle, guess what? It's going to be a constant struggle. And I want to quote Henry Ford here, because he used to say, whether you believe that you can or that you can't, you are right. And that's exactly how limiting beliefs work to a certain point, like a more simplified version of this. And maybe you just go and be like, I am nothing unless people love me and approve of me. Maybe just part of the way you behave is because you've been looking approval. And I'll tell you a little story here of something that happened to me personally with this. And the way this happened was growing up, I was raised by my mom mostly. So, single mom, working all the time, just always, striving to get a better life for her and for me. And whenever I would do well in school, like get good grades or achieve something, have an accomplishment, I would go and show her, and she would go most of the times and say something like, well, I wouldn't expect anything less from you because that's the only thing you do. Like, school is your only responsibility. So, like, I wouldn't expect anything less. That's what it's expected from you. So, I mean, well done, but that's it. You have everything in every tool that you need for make that happen. So, there's nothing to celebrate. And that's kind of the mentality and mindset that I grew up with. Like every achievement and accomplishment that I've made throughout my life. And just that recently happened. I just got a business certification from Harvard, which is, not nothing, to be honest. It was bloody hard. I definitely underestimated Harvard. But after I made it, I got my certificate. I was like, well, okay, next thing. I wasn't even happy or satisfied or proud of myself because I wouldn't allow me because of these limiting beliefs I had from my childhood. And, most of the times we don't realize that. And maybe my mom was not aware of that. Right. And you might be able to relate with this because you might have told your kids something like that, or that's the way you were raised as well. And now everything's starting to make sense. And the pieces of the puzzle are kind of getting, into this place where they make sense, and they are just like, oh, what? Wait, what is going on? I never thought about that, right? So I just realized about this, I mean, in the past 2 years, because I was just doing so many things and just, accomplishing stuff again and again and again. But I was never happy with those accomplishments and until I realized and understood and I got to know myself to a deeper level where I was able to discover this limiting belief that wouldn't allow me to be proud of myself. So no matter what I accomplished, and if I hadn't realized about this, I would just go through life achieving whatever, but I would never be happy or I would never be satisfied, right? And you can maybe sometimes think of this of people who just make money and they want to make more and more and more and more. And they might have this kind of limiting belief, right? Because how much money do you need? And yeah, and one thing is creating like a legacy, or if you're pursuing your passion or a purpose, but just for the sake of having more money, you're not satisfied. And why is that? Well, this could be one of those reasons. There's a limiting belief there that just keep you blinded, from what it is that you really want in life. So I just wanted to throw in a little example of something that happened in my life and how this realizing and about this belief and just digging really deep into my core just opened up my eyes and shedded like complete new light. And now literally that changed my life like completely. And same thing, I have a few examples. I'll share another story with you, maybe in the next section, something that actually happened today. And it's something that you're just going to be like, well, that's so simple, but yet it changes your whole perspective about life. So here's another example of a limiting belief. I am not important. My feelings and needs are not important. And, sometimes this happens, in your family or maybe a relationship, right? If it's with your parents or your significant other, maybe you're going through a situation where things are not quite well. And you might have thoughts like this, and that's limiting beliefs. Because, I'll teach you after this some counter statements to change this mindset and just turn this around. But let's first uncover some of the most frequent limiting beliefs, and this might open your eyes for you right now. Another limiting belief is, I can't cope with scary or difficult situations, or I can't afford to have what I want. I don't have the time. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve to have the things I truly want. And if you feel related, if you've ever told this to yourself or just have the thought, or you have not taken a risk or have gone towards something or in pursuit of something that you really wanted and you don't really know why, start thinking if any of these limiting beliefs were coming into play, maybe low key, maybe in an unconscious way, but start thinking like last time you did not do something that you wanted to because you were afraid or, like anxious about something, or you just there was something holding you back, but you just don't know why. Try to think if any of these could make sense for that. Because believing in negativity about yourself means that you won't even try to get what you want, which is the surest way to guarantee that you don't. If you believe from the beginning that you just are not going to be able to make it, if you have fear of failure, of what other people will say or think about you, you're not going to even try. And if you don't try, trust me, you're not going to get what you want. It's as simple as that. Right? Like some people say when they're trying to give you like dating advice and stuff like that, and you want to go and talk to a girl, for example, and like what they say, if you don't do it, like you already have the no. So what's the worst thing that could happen? Right? Like that she actually says, well, yes. Right? So it's the same thing. If you don't even try, well, the only answer you're going to get is no. So limiting beliefs are usually based on the idea that self-worth depends on something outside ourselves. And this is massive. And I want you to pay attention to this because it is, like I said, when you get to know yourself and who you are truly at the core, you understand that your self-worth and who you are is not based on any situation outside of you. It's not based on the house where you live or the neighborhood or the car you drive or the, all the certifications that you have. Because that's, once again, something that happened to me. I have like certifications with so many things, and I've read like so many books and taken so many courses and attended to a lot of conferences. And I thought that that would make me better as a person or more valuable for someone else. But until I understood that that's not how self-worth is created and how I can measure my own success. And remember, that's part of the workbook, the first questions of the section 1 of the masterclass, and that's defining what's personal success to you. So once you find out and you understand yourself better, then you understand that the self-worth comes within you. So it comes from the inside out and not from the outside in, as a lot of people think. You can see people all the time thinking, oh, when I get there, when I achieve this, when I make this amount of money, when I'm, whatever this happens, then I'll be happy, or I'll be fulfilled, or I will, X, Y, and Z. And the truth is, that's the wrong way of looking at things. Like, sure, you can have goals, and that's what you should be doing, but don't measure your self-worth or your success or who you are based on things that you haven't accomplished yet, because then it's a never-ending process, right? So, and that's gonna just limit yourself, and that's gonna chop off your legs, because once you get there, you're gonna realize, well, yeah, okay, that is great, but now I want something else. And you're going to achieve that, and you're going to be like, well, yeah, this is great, but now I want something else, and you're never going to be happy. So that's going to affect your confidence as well. That's what I mean with this part that I have right here. And as your self-esteem develops, you will learn to respect and believe in yourself outside the things you've achieved, like I just said, and without being dependent on anyone else to feel secure within yourself. And I see this all the time, especially with kids, right? Or teenagers or college kids, that they just want, I had a coaching session with this kid who was in college, and he was playing football, and he was like, well, I don't even think that I'm going to be able to be with my family during Thanksgiving because I have practice. That's all I do, like study and practice football. And I asked him, what do you want? Well, I want to spend more time with my family because I don't want to have this regret later in life that, like I didn't spend enough time with them. And I told him, well, why don't you do that? And he's like, well, I'm afraid that if I drop out of playing football, my parents are going to be disappointed, of me, And he told me that he talked to his parents and that they were like, it's okay. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. But he felt like maybe they were not being truthful about it. So he was creating his own thoughts and his own versions of things. And he just wanted to make his parents happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand that you have to put yourself first in these situations. But because what's the purpose of thinking that you're making your parents happy, for example, in this case, when you're just miserable on the inside? Do you think that's what they are going to be happy about that? Of course not. So sometimes we don't have that clarity, and that's why it comes in handy to have someone else's perspective about the situation, and someone who's not biased and is able to see the bigger picture and help you see that bigger picture. Right? So it's crucial that we understand how our own set of mistaken beliefs was created before we go and try to reprogram ourselves with more functional and supportive beliefs. Because, you see this all the time, right? And a lot of people tell you, well, you have to repeat every day, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy, I love myself, whatever it is, positive affirmations. But if you don't first expose the limiting beliefs and understand what is holding you back, it doesn't matter how many times you repeat positive affirmations. You're not going to be able to fight those limiting beliefs because they're all going to still be there. So whenever you're feeling down, boom, they're going to pop back up and they're going to bring you to your knees. So first you need to know what is holding you back, understand it, and then you can reprogram your mindset to towards these positive affirmations, and then you're going to see a real change. And I have right here a clear representation of what I'm saying. With these limiting beliefs, they're nothing but anchors holding you back from taking off, with your life. And you can see the other balloons, they're just like out there flying free because they understood what their limiting beliefs were and took action upon those things and created a new belief system. So first you need to break free from these chains, from these anchors that are holding you back in order to be able to be free and pursue that what is going to make you happy and give you that sense of fulfillment and purpose in life. So here's, we're going to start the part of how to counterstate those limiting beliefs or thoughts, negative thoughts about ourselves. And sometimes, this happened. I don't know who told me this. I think it was one of my first mentors. And he taught his kid not to ask like, if he can do this, or, oh man, how can I do this or that? How can I get this toy, for example? Or if he can, right? Just ask yourself if you can. No, of course you can. Everything is possible. The question you should be asking yourself is, how will you achieve that? Because everything is possible. If you start asking yourself whether you can or you can't, remember what Ford used to say, if you believe you can, well, that's right. If you believe you can't, that's right as well. So start believing that you can, like as the default mode. And from there, just ask, how can you get there? So here are the some of the examples and statements and how to counterstate those as well into a more positive and create a new belief system. But remember, first you need to discover what is holding you back and what are those limiting beliefs. So if you might have the belief of, I am powerless, I am a victim of the outside circumstances, remember, go back to the ownership principle. This is exactly one of those limiting beliefs. Once you understand that, you can install this new belief that says, I am responsible for myself and I'm in control of my life. And I can't determine the circumstances, but I can determine my attitude towards them and how you prepare in the first place, right? Remember, it's about being proactive instead of just reactive. Or maybe you have this belief, if I take a risk, I will fail. If I fail, other people will reject me. And this might have happened before, in your life. But that's, again, part of the first questions that I gave you in the workbook. And you have to assess reality about this. Have this happened to you before? Have you failed at something? Yes or no? If it's yes, is it true that other people had rejected you because you failed? Or maybe it's the complete opposite. They are there to support you and they might be telling you just like, well, you know what? You can always try again and just support you. And just have to evaluate what's really going on. And once you understand this, you can install this new belief. It's all right for me to take risks, and it doesn't matter if I fail. I can learn from every mistake I make. It's okay for me to be successful. You have to allow yourself to be successful and believe that you can achieve anything and accomplish everything that you want to. Maybe not at the same time. That's one of the other biggest life principles. You can have everything you want, but not at the same time, right? That's another powerful one. So you might want to write that down. Or maybe you have this limiting belief. Life is a constant struggle. There must be something wrong in life. If life seems easy, pleasurable, or fun, the classical or the cliche, it's too good to be true. And that right there, you're sabotaging yourself. So once you understand that, here's the counter statement. Life is pleasurable and fun. And it's all right for me to relax and enjoy myself. Life is an adventure in which I'm learning to accept both the ups and the downs. And I see this all the time, especially with entrepreneurs nowadays, because they're like, yeah, I don't sleep. I only sleep 3 hours. I'm always on the go. And you end up just burning yourself out, and then you can't think and everything goes to hell because there's no balance. That's the other part of my 6-week program, how to have and how to create work-life balance, because that is crucial. And I see that every time, especially like I said, with entrepreneurs or just big achievers, they don't allow themselves to give some time to other things like passions or hobbies or whatever it is. But once again, and even if you're pursuing your passion, you have to allow yourself to relax from time to time and actually enjoy the process. Because if you don't, it just becomes a burden, and then it turns into the complete opposite of what you wanted. Here we have the last one. I'm not important. My feelings and needs are not important. We saw that on the previous slide. So here's your counter statement if you ever feel like this. I am unique and valuable individual. My needs and feelings are just as important as anyone else. Give yourself that place in your life and just acknowledge that you matter and your feelings matter as well. Of course, you need to assess what those feelings are and where they come from, right? And that's another thing that I teach in the modules of core beliefs and core values as well in my 6-week program. So to end up with this section of the masterclass, I have 5 questions to ask yourself to challenge your limiting beliefs. So once again, you have this in your workbook, write down your answers and be honest about this, because once you start discovering and exposing your limiting beliefs, everything is just going to change in a really positive way right before your eyes. And here we are on the last section of this masterclass, the alchemy of goal setting. This is really powerful. Goals are what our desires become when we set deadlines to them to make them a reality. Basically, this is what separates goals from dreams. When you have a deadline and you actually take action upon these goals, they turn into achievable goals instead of just dreams. And setting and achieving healthy goals is essential to our well-being and happiness, right? Once you have goals that, once again, they're positive and they're going to have a good impact in your life, that's what gives you that sense of well-being and happiness. Like I said, if you're pursuing happiness for the sake of having that feeling, well, you're going to be kind of disappointed. And maybe that's what's happened for most of your life, because you didn't have this understanding that what you should be pursuing is a life purpose and your passion and something that gives you meaning, right? So at this point, I think that you have that clear, right? Of course you do. And visualizing a goal is more important than having all the answers. Right. So that what that means is that you have to be able, once again, to work with your imagination instead of trying to build massive willpower, and visualize that goal and just know that it is possible, right? That there's no limitations that you have, but your own thoughts. So the first step of goal setting is to define your vision and take full responsibility for what you want to achieve. And as you can see, all of the previous principles are starting to come into play and just be like these little parts of the puzzle that fit one next to another and allows you to see the bigger picture. So, so like I said, here we have again the ownership principle. You have to take full responsibility for what you want to achieve. But first you have to define your vision, meaning you have to know thyself and know what your purpose in life is and what you want to accomplish and what are you passionate about and what is it that you love and what is it that you want to do the rest of your life, right? And the vision and goals that you develop for your future cannot be what other people want or expect from you. And that's massive, because if you're being, once again, we go back to the part of being authentic with yourself. If you're trying to create a goal or achieve something because that's what somebody else want for you, for example, it's not going to work, right? And we see this all the time, again, with kids and parents. And when kids go to college and they go and they're like, well, I'm going to be a lawyer because that's what my parents are, or well, that's what they want for me to be, or go into, be doctors, or some of these professions that most of the times you see it comes back and you can track down from the family. But maybe you just don't want to do that, but you're forced to. So those goals become like a burden instead of something that you enjoy. And that's going to, again, limit your life again and again. And if you want to succeed with goal setting, you need to define the most important goals you have for each area of your life. And we're going to talk about those areas of your life, because the way I see it and how I work is we have 7 different areas of our lives at which we need to create this life balance. That's what I use for my work balance module of my 6-week program. And we have these 7 different areas of life. I'll show you. But first, I want you to see this picture that I have right here that says next year's goals, be awesome. Well, we all want to be awesome, but that's not how it works, right? So that's not enough. And that's why the New Year's resolutions and that kind of stuff just does not last long enough. There's no plan. And your goal should strive to positively benefit the world in some way in areas which are important to you. So back to the beginning, right? Maybe you're looking to make an impact in the world, to your own world, family, friends, the people around you, your community. And of course, you want those goals to be positive, because otherwise there's doesn't make sense. There's no purpose. Because the way we are wired, like no one wants to, harm anyone or just be negative, right? So you want to impact these areas that are important to you, that are relevant. Because here's a tip for you. Only choose goals that inspire you. You might want to write that down. Because it's important to set goals that are in alignment with your top priorities. We are also going to talk a little bit about how to prioritize your goals, because you need to have that greater vision of yourself, the big picture, but at the same time, you want to be able to break down those goals into little chunks so that you can actually achieve them. Because everyone just wants to take the elevator to the penthouse of life success, but that's not how it works. You need to take the stairs. And unless you're willing to take one step at a time, you're just not going to get there. And achieving goals requiring commitment, patience, and perseverance. That is why it's crucial that they inspire you and motivate you. Because if they don't, you just won't commit. And I see this again, and you probably see this, and maybe you've been through these kind of things, that you don't have the commitment or the patience or the perseverance or, once again, the willpower. And that's because these goals are not aligned to your priorities and who you are. Deep in your core with your beliefs, new belief system, and your core values. So it's just not going to happen, and it's going to be super hard. So for the goal setting, the alchemy, you want to create smart goals, not just have goals for the sake of having goals. You need to have a system in place that that's going to take you to those goals. So I'm not going to go into too much depth into this. Once again, I cover fully this in my 6-week program, but this is what you need to know today to start using these principles and putting them into practice. Your goals need to be specific. Okay. So first, we have to ask ourselves the following questions about our goals and our vision. What, how, and why? What do you want to accomplish? What is your goal? How are you going to accomplish, or you think you can accomplish that goal, and why? That's the most important part. Knowing the why, that is going to give you the whole purpose and sense. And that's how you're going to know if you're being true with yourself and with that goal. Because if you have the wrong why, you're just not going to, go through like the struggle and be able to go through the struggles and the tough things that might come your way in order for you to be able to achieve that goal. So you need to have a strong why and have the right why in place, aligned with who you are. And you want to make sure that those goals are measurable. So once we know the why and how and what you're going to do, what you need to do is be able to measure those goals and your process and your progress towards it, right? So you want to be sure that you can measure progress within your goals. That's what you have to set, like smaller goals and like short, mid, and long-term goals that you can measure. And because there's nothing that gives us more satisfaction than seeing progress on what we're doing. So that's the importance of having measurable goals. Once you see that you're making progress, that's also going to motivate you and give you that feeling of fulfillment, and you're going to keep going. no problem. Of course, you want to make sure that these goals are achievable. And when I say achievable, is like I said, anything is possible, but you want to make sure that these are achievable within a time frame, right? So you want to be realistic within a time frame. Because if you say, well, I want to be a millionaire by tomorrow morning, well, unless you have a lottery ticket in your hand and the lottery plays that night, that might not happen, you know? So you want to be result focused, because we must apply here the proactive principle and begin with the end in mind. Remember, going back to that principle, instead of just reacting, you want to prevent, any different outcome. So when it comes to goal setting, you want to start with your goal in mind first, right? What is the goal here? What is the end or the purpose of this that you want to achieve? And from there, you want to break that down into different steps in order to achieve that. You want to kind of like reverse engineer something. And you have to have a time bound. So you want to have a timeline and a deadline for when you must accomplish a certain goal. So like I said, maybe let's say you want to start a business, and your goal is to have a successful business making 6 figures within the next 5 years. So from there, you have to break that down into each year, right? How is it going to look each year? And on the first year, what's your goal for that year? What do you need to do to accomplish that goal in the first year? And what are you going to do in the next 6 months and in the 3 months? And on the first month, what are the things that you're going to do? And what is your action plan for the next 30 days? Every day, what is your goal for that day that is going to take you, closer to achieving the goal for that month, for the 6 months, for the 12 months, for the year, for the second, third, and fourth, and finally achieving the greater vision. So you have to plan that out, but then again, you have to start with the end in mind and kind of reverse engineer this whole situation. So those are the basis of smart goal setting. And now I just want to mention this real quick, the 7 pillars of life. You have the social and family relationships. You have the career and educational aspirations, money and personal finances, physical health, recreation and leisure, life's routines, responsibilities, giving back to society and contribution, and mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This is what I consider are the 7 pillars of life. And from each one of these, you want to make sure you have goals. And of course, depending on what your greater vision is for yourself, and in order to create a work balanced life situation. So like I said, I talk more in depth about this in my 6-week program, but you can screenshot this and kind of start thinking about these 7 pillars of life and reflect upon this and see where you need to work a little bit more, put a little bit more of attention, and create maybe some goals. So once again, the work-life balance. The more balanced we become, the clearer we'll be on which opportunities deserve our best efforts and which opportunities are worth dismissing entirely. And here's where you want to apply the efficiency matrix, where it tells you what are the things that you must do because they're important and urgent. So you want to do those right away. Or maybe there's something that's not urgent and just not important. So why bothering at all and doing them, right? Just dismiss them entirely. And it can become very, very easy to burn out in life due to the constant pressures and demands placed upon us. Because once again, okay, you have this goal and yeah, you're pursuing your passion in life, what you love, but you're going so hard that you just focus on that one pillar of life and you just stop paying attention to the rest. So everything else starts to crumble. And guess what? Your building or your foundation is not going to hold, and you're going to burn out, and you're going to have to sacrifice other parts of your life because you think that's what you have to do. But that's not the way to do it effectively. And achieving and maintaining a healthy life balance can be a long life process. So like I said, you have to work on that balance and start thinking that your life, it's a marathon. Like you have 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 80 more years to go. So just think about that. Don't rush into trying to accomplish this life. Because remember, it's a great a greater vision for yourself. So this is what you want to accomplish at the end of your life. Like, what is your legacy? What is it going to look? What, remember, like those questions, what do you want to be remembered for at the end of your life? So stop thinking of that you only have like 5 years, so you can create that balance within your life and achieve success in everything, in every part of those 7 pillars. Because that, otherwise you're going to burn out, and then your passion, trust me, you're not going to be that passionate about it after a few years. And of course, granted, not every choice we make will fully support our greatest life vision every time, but that's what balance is all about, right? So it's important to allow ourselves to have those ups and downs and just have that better understanding about life. So that's it. That's the end of our masterclass. I hope that you enjoyed it. And you might be asking, well, what's next? How can I apply these principles? Because I know, and I've been there, and that's honestly the main reason why I'm doing this and why I created the 6-week program and why I do the one-on-one coaching sessions, because I've read as many books as I can and hold the information. And like I said, I've attended conferences and seminars and bought like online courses and all this kind of stuff, and even had like paid for coaching and mentors. But until you understand the principles, you just get that knowledge. And like I said, knowledge without understanding is useless. So what I do is I help people apply these principles. Because if you read a book, if you pay for an online course, if you go to a conference, if you have questions about how you can apply these principles specifically to your current situation, there's no one else there to guide you, right? That is the reason why this masterclass is the only one that I have pre-recorded, to give you like an introduction to what you can learn or what I can teach you. And if you're interested in that, then we can work on a one-on-one scenario where I can answer your questions for your own particular current situation and your own things that are holding you back, right? That is the difference. This is a live program, not a pre-recorded thing where you just have, best of luck. If you understand it, well, there you go. If you don't, well, you go back to square one like you've always done and just repeat that insanity. So let me explain you what this 6-week program is, if you're interested in finally making a change in your life and just breaking that cycle. I want to introduce you to the 6-week coaching program, which I call the Revolution Within. And what this program is designed for is helping you personally, one-on-one setting, to help you how to apply these principles into your life. And not only these principles, because this 6-week program is designed, like I said, from 6 different parts, 1 section per week. And the way I organize this and the way I have this set it up is as follows. On week 1, I call it the awakening of thyself, which means, like I mentioned at the beginning of this masterclass, the most important thing for you to do is to know yourself, right? To know what is it that you like, that you dislike, what's your purpose in life, what is it that you're passionate about, what is it that you would like to do and that you love doing and you would like to get paid for that and build a life around that. What is it that gives you joy? What is it that gets you a little bit sad or gets you down sometimes, right? What are the things that you want to accomplish in life? What is that greater vision of yourself, right? How you want to be remembered once you're gone. So that's the foundation of this whole program. Once you do that just that 1 week is massively insightful and is going to help you tremendously. So on the 2nd week, I teach the 5 sacred principles. One of those is what you already learned, the ownership principle. That's just one little part of what this involves, of the ownership principle and how to apply it. That's the most important part. I teach you how to apply it to your personal life and to your personal circumstances and challenges that you are facing, alongside with another 4 principles that are equally as important. On week 3, I teach the perpetual core values. And this is something massive that's also going to help you define who are you, right? Like I was saying, it's not who you are is not the car you drive, the house you live in,
the accomplishments you had in the past, or where you were born, any of that. Who you are as a person is also defined by your core values. And sometimes we don't realize about this. And a lot of people don't even know what core values are and the power that they have, and the, massive impact they have into your lives and the lives of others and the people around you. So that's week 3. And week 4, we go into the eudaimonic core beliefs. And that is, shattering the limiting beliefs, understanding the limiting beliefs, exposing them, and discovering what is it that's holding you back from achieving this greater vision of yourself. And once we expose them and have that understanding, then, opposed to what you get on therapy, right? When you have a problem and you go to therapy, and then you realize that, like the example I gave, that maybe because how I was wired because of my mom, and that I wasn't really congratulating or appreciating my achievements because that was expected from me, I failed to actually be proud of myself and all that kind of stuff. So once you understand that, and like I said, opposed to therapy is like, okay, we uncover what's, troubling your mind. But after that, that's it. It's like, okay, this is what was troubling your mind. It's time to get over it, and good luck. I'll see you next week. No, here we reprogram your brain and your mind to substitute those limiting beliefs for new positive beliefs that actually are going to help you not only overcome those situations, but improve your life in that particular part of your life that limiting belief is holding you back. So that's the massive importance and the difference here with this coaching program. And once again, the way I work is in person. These are live you can call it training events, where we can apply these principles to your own personal life and your own challenges. It's not just pre-recorded and where you can't ask questions and you can't figure out how to apply this to your life, right? Sometimes we need a second perspective in order to have a clearer vision and just open up our eyes. On week 5, we go through the SMART goal efficiency matrix. So it's part of what I taught you, like the alchemy of goal setting. We go into this work-life balance, the 7 pillars of life, into more detail focused. And also I teach you the efficiency matrix, which is going to help you discern and select and prioritize the goals that you have. What are the goals that are the things that you need to do right now? What are the things that you can delegate? What are the things that you can just plan or dismiss at all, that are just not important and are just a waste of your time? So it's important to know that, and how to apply this goal setting and the efficiency matrix around all those 7 pillars of life so that you can achieve that life balance. Because remember, it's not going just after one thing and just go blindsided, with the rest of the things, because you're going to have problems eventually. So I want to help you avoid those mistakes and achieve that life balance while pursuing your passion and finding that purpose in your life, achieving that greater vision of yourself. And on the last week, to finish this program, is what I call the golden principle of limitless abundance. And what that means is that I teach you how you can apply all these principles that we learned from week 1 through week 5, and how you can keep applying those things and repeating them throughout your whole life. So you don't need to keep going to like coaching sessions or just taking the program again and again, right? So the importance of this is that you get to understand. Remember that knowledge without understanding is useless. So the point of all of this, last part, and that's last week, is to help you understand how you can apply all these principles into your life. Because once you get the understanding, you can transpose those to any other thing in life, right? And pretty much we're covering every aspect of life with the 7 pillars. So from there, you can apply all this to even like communication, to how to improve your relationships, even into the business world as well, if you want to start your own business. So I teach you with this, the last week, is how to somehow recycle all these principles and transpose them into any aspect of your life that needs to be covered and that might, come up in the future, because maybe in 5-10 years, some things are going to change, right? Even though you're following your true vision, maybe in 10 years, that greater vision of yourself is going to change because you're growing. So that's really important as well. Now, I need you to know that this program is not for everyone. So if you just believe that things can't happen for you, or that you can't live a passionate life, or you have this fixed mindset, and then you're willing just to settle down for what you have, even though you're not feeling satisfied or fulfilled with your life, then this program is probably not going to do anything for you. If you're willing to take responsibility for your life and accept that all change and everything that happens in your life is up to you, and you like to point fingers and just justify whatever happens in your life is because of the government or the situation or the place you were born or anything like that, this program, at this point, after this masterclass, if you still believe that, the 6-week program definitely won't help you. So if you don't really want to grow and live a purposeful life and fulfilling life, if you just want to settle and you're okay where you're at, then there's no point on taking that program as well. If you're just fine where you're at, that's perfectly fine, and that's fantastic, and I congratulate you for that. So, of course, then this program might not be of any help at the same time. And also, and most importantly, if you expect me to solve your problems for you, that's not the way this works, all right? I'm here to help you understand and guide you on how to find your own solutions to these problems, how to solve your problems by yourself on your own. Because remember, once again, your life is under your control, and you're the only one who's in control of your life, okay? So if you think that I'm gonna solve you, we go back again to the same problem of not taking responsibility for your life. Now, who's going to get a life-changing experience? Well, if you're open-minded and you're actually looking for a change, if you're done settling down for the life that you have and you actually want more out of life, and you're willing to, put the time at the effort and have an open mind about this, then you're going to benefit massively. And if you want to take control of your life finally and accept that you're the only creator of what happens in your life, this definitely is going to help you. And I want to ask you if you're determined to live a meaningful life, or to just settle down and quit pursuing your passion. Because if you are determined to live a meaningful life and make an impact, like I said, in the world or those around you, then you need to take this 6-week coaching program. But first, you need to ask yourself if you're willing to take risks and put the time and effort to make it happen. And I'm not taking risks about like what you're going to pay for the program or anything like that. No, these are the risks that you need to take in life in order to get to that greater vision for you and the life you want to achieve. Because there's going to be risk and challenges and things along the way. But I want to ask you, would you rather, because that's always going to be there, right? There's always going to be risks. There's always going to be decisions to be made. There's always going to be a challenging time. But would you rather have those times doing and having a life that you just are not satisfied with, or doing what you love and in pursuing your passion and your true purpose? I think that's a no-brainer. So all you have to do if you want to start creating change in your life and taking action, because remember, that's the key. There's 2 important parts for change. Number 1 is understanding, because if you don't have understanding, knowledge is useless. And number 2 is actually taking action upon this understanding, because otherwise, if you don't do something, if you don't move, you're not going anywhere. So all you have to do if you want to start this program is click on the button below that says book now, because we're going to get on the phone to see if and how I can help you take and make the most out of this 6-week program. Okay, like I said, this is a personal one-on-one thing. So it's not a pre-recorded, it's not any of that nonsense. This is a one-on-one thing, and I have 2 options for this. One is a one-on-one, completely private, just working you and I together
for during these 6 weeks. And just let me clarify this. This is a 1 session per week. So it's not like 5 days. It's not like, no, none of that. Because I know you have all the responsibilities and things to do. And also you need to know that you need to apply these principles. I'm going to give you a workbook like the one you received with this masterclass for each and every week. So you can apply these principles and understand and gain the understanding and clarity throughout the week, so that each session there's progress, right? What's the point of the SMART goals? There's one of the parts is that it must be measurable. So that's what we do with this. We measure the progress, with the workbooks. So I have that, the one-on-one option or the group session, because yes, prices, of course, it change. So you might want to, at the point that you're right now, you don't want to invest that much money into you, but I want to give you another option, and that's the group coaching. So I have different groups going on throughout the week, and that might be better also because you build a community and then you realize that you're actually not alone and there's more people going through maybe the same things. And remember, having a different perspective into your life is going to change and it's going to help you at the same time. So when you have a group of people who are striving to improve their lives at the same time, that's also going to benefit you massively, because you're going to be part of a group and a community who's trying to achieve something similar to you, and that who's going to be there as well to support you. If you don't have a lot of support outside of, let's say, your family, friends, you're going to find that support here with this group. So that's massive, and that's going to affect you and influence your progress massively. So that's actually what I suggest, to go for the group option. It's more affordable and you're able to take action and form part of this community who are all striving to grow and become the better versions of themselves, the best versions of yourself. So you want to do that, book that appointment. It's only going to take us 20 minutes, maybe, to find out what are the things that you want to work in, where you at in life right now, where do you want to go, so we can tune this program specifically for you so you can get the most out of it. Like I said, this is a live training, no pre-recorded nonsense, anything of that. You have email support all the time. If you have any questions, throughout the week on the workbooks or on some situation that came up and you want to know if you can apply these principles to that situation or circumstance, that's how this works. Okay. This is actually to help you break free from what's been holding you back, with someone actually being there for you to help you, not just a pre-recorded program. Okay. So go and do that now. And I have, before I go, I have this last quote for you that says, if you are the kind of person who is waiting for the right thing to happen or the right time, you might wait for a long time. So my friends, the time to take action is today, because tomorrow it's not granted. Okay. So you know what you have to do. And I'm wishing you the best for this new year, 2020. And I hope to hear from you soon. Cheers.